Hello, everyone, and welcome to In-House Counsel Insights, which brings together different in-house attorneys from different companies and different industries and different practice areas to share their experience with you and some tips and tricks behind the scenes. I have with me today Sarah Toppi. She is Senior Corporate Counsel with VMware. Hey, Sarah.
Hi, Chris.
Thanks for joining us today. So first of all, you have a very interesting background that I'd like to share with the audience. So you went in the Army, right?
I did.
Okay. What was that? I'm sorry.
After high school, I went to West Point, and then I became an aviation officer in the Army.
And you flew helicopters?
I did.
And served in Iraq, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for your service. Very, very interesting, and thank you for serving in Iraq. So what happened after the Army? How did you end up segueing into the law?
I applied for law school when I was still in the Army, actually. My time of service was coming up, and to be honest, I didn't know what I wanted to do when Army time was over, and law school had always been my fallback plan. So failing to find something better to do, off I went.
Awesome. And did you start your career as an outside counsel, right?
I did. Okay. I went to a law firm for about 7 years before I went in-house.
Okay. And what did you do at that law firm?
I was a litigation associate.
Okay. So how did you get into litigation? Because this is one of the things that I've noticed for myself too. Did you pick that, or did it pick you?
I would say a little bit of both. I don't have a business background. I didn't have a business undergrad degree. I'm a foreign language background. I did do particularly well in contracts in law school. And so, at that time, for the people who don't have another specialty, litigation is sort of the catch-all. And so that's where I ended up. But I also thought it would be interesting. So my father's a lawyer, he's a litigator, and I knew, right, what courtroom work looked like. I have to say, I don't know that I knew what the back office, big firm litigation associate life was like, but it was a good fit.
Yeah, I agree. I had no idea what it was like either, and I know we both did the litigation big law thing, and it's yes, I understand what you're saying. So, what was your first experience doing in-house work?
So my law firm seconded me to a client for 9 months, and I did litigation management for that client. So I got up in the morning and I went to work at the client site, and I had an office with my name on the door, and that was my first experience of it.
How was that different than what you were doing at the firm?
So it was very different. In fact, they actually put up a screen between me and the rest of the work that was happening at my firm, so that there wouldn't be any conflicts of interest. But at my firm, I had supported multiple clients. And this was the first time that I got up in the morning and I was handling kind of whatever came through my door. So multiple matters for the same client.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. And and you were managing litigation in that role, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then your next in-house position, what did you do?
So I went back to private practice, and then a headhunter called me up kind of out of the blue, and offered me another litigation management role up in Savannah, Georgia, for a small financial services company. So I was doing sort of the same thing, but for a different industry and at a different place.
Okay. And when you're managing litigation, so I like to talk a lot about value. So how, as a in-house litigation person, how do you add value to the business and work with the business units, if you spend a little time addressing that?
Yeah, I mean, outside counsel management, it's really more than that. I would say that actual litigation management, right? So you're trying to, it's a business role a lot of times more than it is a legal role. You're trying to manage costs and you're trying to make strategy calls, right? About what to pursue, what not to pursue, what the value is in settling something, whether you're right or not. And you're trying to add value to a business, not only from a reputational standpoint, right, but from a financial standpoint.
Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of strategy. And let's address this for those that aren't in-house attorneys that might watch this. They're really the corporate clients. How does actual litigation experience factor into an in-house litigation role? Like, is it, for instance, necessary that the person has been to a trial before? Does that make an impact on that person's ability to make strategic calls for the client?
I think it probably does not. Most litigation, it doesn't end up in a trial, right? That the percentages, right, are not that your experience is actually in the courtroom at a trial. So much of it is positioning, right? So much of it is, what are the calls that you're going to make? How defensive are you going to be? How offensive are you going to be? And what are the costs associated, right, with taking a particular action? And, unfortunately, litigation can be a weapon, and you can weaponize it. That depends on the kind of company that you're with, right? If you want to kind of weaponize your litigation, are you trying to, outlast the other party? Or you can, somebody can weaponize litigation against you. And then it's, how to best defend, how to best get out of it, with the best result possible.
Mm-hmm. It's so important to understand that. So what was your next in-house position after one we just talked about?
Yep. So I was working for a specialty financial services company. The financial services aspect of it interested me, and it was something I had always dabbled in a little bit. And so from there, I went to a bank. I went to a big national bank. I went in-house and I spun my career. Litigation can be kind of stressful. It's always adversarial. It was something that I didn't necessarily want to keep doing. But I liked the issues that I was dealing with. Most of it was contract litigation. And to be honest, I was like, they should have just let me write this contract. I could have done it better. So that's what I did. I went to work for a big bank and I started writing their contracts with their vendors. And I think it gave me a unique perspective, right, to negotiate better, because having seen where it goes wrong, what to look out for.
How did you leverage your litigation backgrounds? Mostly litigating contracts, things like that. How did you leverage that to go into a more like transactional role?
So what I leveraged was what I knew about contracts. I had always done contract litigation in one form or another, commercial contract litigation. And so I leveraged what I knew about commercial contracts, right? And I just emphasized it. I just said, hey, when we're negotiating this is what we need to pay attention to. This is how, we can avoid risk. At that time, it didn't occur to me that I needed to also figure out how to kind of get to yes and how to get to agreement. But I sure knew how to avoid risk. And that was what I was able to really tap into.
Do you think a litigation background helps when you're working with contracts and things like that?
I still think it helps. I think I can tell when I'm negotiating, whether counsel on the other side has a litigation background or not.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell over the things that they worry about or the things that are really, important issues for them. And sometimes, I can tell when it doesn't, right? I can tell, I'm like, have you really ever argued about this? Have you ever argued about this? No one's ever argued about that, right? Whatever. So.
Yeah. Context really helps a lot. I agree. So we talked about value before when you were managing litigation. How about adding value when you're doing contracts at that bank? Did it change? Did you have to shift the way you added value to the company?
I did. And that's about managing. At the bank, I was helping the bank procure, right? Usually technology. And there were so many competing concerns. So you're going to have an internal client who really, really, really wants this technology because it's the next best thing, and it's going to make banking and life and customers so much happier and easier. And then you have the other side of the coin, the risk managers, right? Who are like, well, this technology is new. There's, increased risk with bringing on this technology. So a lot of what I am doing is actually internal balancing, right, between competing concerns. And then kind of coming to what's the best position for the bank, and then having to go back to the technology company, right, and make sure that we can get that.
Okay. Okay. And you went from the buy side of technology contracts. Now you're in the sell side of technology contracts, right?
That's right. Yeah. About a year
Okay.
and a half ago. Yep. I moved over to VMware and I support a sales vertical, right? The financial services industry vertical. So now I'm helping sell technology to banks. So the 5 years that I spent at a national bank, I think definitely has given me insight into how to close those gaps, right? What are they worried about? What are they really worried about? And can we, there are always creative solutions to get to yes.
All right. Love it. Let's talk about your technology company. Let's talk about technology. Let's talk about AI. That's really kind of the trending thing that everyone's thinking about. They're all talking about. How are there things that you're looking at, you're trying to keep abreast in the industry? Are there changes that are happening in contract management, essentially? And maybe we focus there. Is there anything you could share with us?
Yeah, so it's definitely the hottest issue, right? Gen AI in particular. I'm very lucky to be working for a technology company where even in the legal department, we're all just sitting around trying to figure out how we can get AI in, right? How can we, automate some of the, lesser challenging aspects of our job to free us up to do what we call kind of real lawyering, right? We want to provide the advice and counsel. We're, the contract management, I think, has a lot of low hanging fruit. First of all, from an organizational standpoint, we know that the way contracts are filed and categorized and labeled when it's done by a human is just not that accurate. And so it's hard to go back through your contract repository sometimes and find what it is that you're looking for. So sort of fixing, right, the library of contracts, that's definitely up there. From a Gen AI standpoint, we're even, we're previewing some tools that pull up from the library of our templates, some standard clauses, and that will go ahead and replace them, right, within, Microsoft Word, which is what we use. We have an admin tool that does that. So, we're really excited about being able to use all of that. I think I told you earlier, our NDA portal is almost fully automated. It requires some human touching, of course, because legal documents are high risk. But I think there's a lot of opportunity in the industry to use AI.
And what will that do for the people? What impact will that have for them? You might have contract reviewers. You might have I know you have attorneys in the department. Do you have any concerns there, or as to the effect that the implementation of this technology is going to have in the long run?
Yeah, I think everyone has concerns, right? Everyone is concerned about job security, right? Everyone is concerned that a machine can do what I do, then you don't need me. But I think that's short-sighted. I think the legal industry has a lot of that protective vibe, but it's short-sighted. It's really a growth opportunity. It frees people up to do more of the creative, non-automated, non-rote tasks, right? That, to actually exercise our judgment, provide that advice. That, AI doesn't do that right now. Perhaps someday it will, but, for now, there's definitely still a need for us. There may not be a need for us to do exactly the tasks that we're doing today, right? But then we can add more value. We have more freedom to do it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay. I love that. So you can be at your highest and best use for the company, which isn't necessarily doing routine tasks. So let me ask you, we're going to wrap up in a little bit, but what is your favorite thing about being in-house? And then why don't you tell me your least favorite thing?
Ooh, okay. So as opposed to being at a firm. So sure. They're almost the same thing. My favorite thing is the flexibility and the freedom, right? To sort of work on a task basis, right? Or on an as needed basis. So my time and my work-life balance is so much more my own. And that's irreplaceable. However, when we were in the trenches at the firms, it built a type of camaraderie that I haven't been able to find anywhere else, truthfully. Mm-hmm. Some of my best friends are still people that I met at firms.
Boy, is that true. And I feel for people that aren't going into the office because I wonder if that same type of camaraderie is built when you're at the firm working in teams, and maybe it is. I don't know. Do you have thoughts on that for outside firms and the pros and cons of working remote? I know you work remote now, right?
I do. I'm 100% remote right now. I have great camaraderie with the people that I work with. But I was in-house at jobs before this where I went to the office every single day. And the camaraderie is still just not as strong as it is at a firm. Because at the end of the day, right, being in-house counsel is not necessarily a 9 to 5 job, but it's a heck of a lot more 9 to 5 than working at a firm. So, at the end of the day, you can leave, go back to your family and forget about work for a while. And at a firm, you never really can. A little bit of a negative, but the firm becomes your family. So, give and take.
Okay. Let's end on this. So for those out there that watch this and they might be at a firm, what tips would you have for them to go in-house?
If you are at a firm and you want to go in-house, decide what it is that you want to do. And hopefully what it is that you want to do is you want to focus on one client, and you want that one client, right, to be what you do everything for. And it may be good. It may be good lawyering. It may be giving good advice, and it may be hanging back a little bit and saying, look, my legal advice is this, or the best legal course of action is this, okay? But there's another way to mitigate that risk that is non-legal in nature. And so the legal risk may be worth accepting. And those are different skill sets and different outlooks than what you have at the firm, where, for the most part at the firm, you're trying to be the best lawyer that you can be. When you work for a company, you're trying to be the best advocate for that company that you can be, which may or may not be as a lawyer.
Right. I love that. That's a great way to finish this. And thank you, Sarah, so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, Chris. It was good to catch up.